Are you ready, man?
Bro, I am completely ready. My body is ready for the information.
Oh, this information is ready for your body, actually.
Dang.
OnlyFans has hit China.
Switching to media output. Oh my God. Oh, OnlyFans. Oh my God.
OnlyFans has hit China. OnlyFans has hit China.
So,
what will Xi
what's going
Jinping
on
do?
with OnlyFans? What's going on with OnlyFans?
The big question is this a next evolution of the Gooner Nation? Just on the surface level, what is your take on this, man? I want to know.
But you mean like on OnlyFans or like specifically OnlyFans in China?
Specifically OnlyFans in China.
Okay. I have a lot of questions. So,
all right.
I thought that pornography, like conceptually, was outlawed in China. Well, maybe that's wrong. Because I don't know if it's like illegal to consume pornography, but I do know for a fact that it's very hard to get a hold of. Yeah.
There's very high censorship in China.
Don't ask how I know this.
For sure.
But the pornography, like I guess the market for it, like for example in Japan, is incredibly high, like way too high in comparison to places like China.
It's to the point where it's incorporated into Japan's soft power culturally, almost. Like, it's crazy, right?
We got Jav idols, dude. What more do you want?
The Gooners are too powerful. The Gooners are too powerful.
We're having a serious issue here, okay? Because Western men are getting each and every single day more attracted to Asian women. You know this. So what's going on? You got one country who not only has the hot Asian chicks, they also have the anime women.
What the hell, dude? They got a monopoly on the Gooner population.
They got a monopoly on all of the Gooner population. Everybody who has one arm way stronger than the other, man, they're all going to Japan right now.
But I think recently, like with all the shit that's happening in China, there's going to be an upset. I think China is starting to kind of like realize this, you know, the soft power implications of this, right?
Do you think, here's a question, do you think China can out-porn Japan?
Seeing what China has been up to for the past 100 years, I can't put anything past them at this point.
Okay. This might be a little bit dark, okay, but stick with me on this, okay? For a time, I was very into weightlifting. So,
yeah,
the Olympic weightlifting teams, specifically the one for China, they're a bunch of freaks, okay? Yeah, I love those guys. They're awesome. I don't know how they do what they do. Why am I talking about this? Because looking, through some interviews, right? Some of these really like high level athletes, people go to the Olympics, stuff like that. There are training schools, but I know they go there and they select like the best talents and they nurture these best talents, which is why you have people that are genetic anomalies, in the sport, and a bunch of them for China because they have like the infrastructure to find these people. Okay. I don't want to talk about sex trafficking, whatever. We can talk about that when we talk about Diddy someday. Do you think they might be able to incorporate the infrastructure necessary to find these like super big Chinese porn stars, like the biggest like they possibly can?
Well, that's the big question here, is that because China has such a strong central government, right? Is this industry going to become another arm of it, right? Is this going to be government subsidized at this point, right? That's kind of an insane thought to think about in the United States, right? Where it's like we have a distinction, or at least some kind of distinction between the government and then private business, right? Even though, let's face it, fucking both of them are in cahoots, right?
Yeah, but everywhere.
Like, at least in China, it's formally the same thing. It's the government has control of the business, right? Because it's a communist nation.
Yeah.
So that's the big question, is like, is this going to become another arm of the Chinese government?
Listen, I can't answer that question, but it is really funny to me to think of the Chinese government, Xi Jinping himself, getting money out of his pocket and giving it to just some random lady like, please, girl, get some double Ds.
Ming Dynasty push.
Your country needs you.
Unwise.
There will be a point where it's like, we're going to see evidence of that. I want to ask you, I really want to ask you from your perspective in South America, like, because I think this ties in with what the attitudes towards sex is, What is that like in Chile currently?
Okay. So there are many different ways I could tackle this, but long story short, we are obviously very influenced by American media in general. Okay. In fact, we have this thing, I guess at least between my friends and I, We always complain about the States, like, please stop exporting your social issues. We don't give a fuck.
I kind of ask my country the same thing, you know.
So it's like, I don't know. This has nothing to do with your question, but just like to give some context, like, got a buddy of mine. He has a younger sister. Okay, she's studying at the same university as me, whatever. So they were in a group chat, right? Like basically just like they were playing this game, real dumb game, where they were basically just calling each other slurs, and whoever like had the best slur won. Okay, and this chick said the N-word. Okay, and
damn,
and what was funny?
Hard R or soft A?
I think like hard all over. It's full of edges all the time. Okay, but here's the thing: people in the group chat got real fucking mad at her. Then again, you know, these were. I think this was like. I know she studies like in the humanities, and in my experience, usually people that study humanities, like related careers, tend to care more about the kind of stuff.
Right.
But anyway, they got real fucking mad. And as someone who is very, you know, into American culture for obvious reasons, I live there and I still consume it all the time. It fucking pissed me off. Not what she did. Her friends. I was like, bitch, hold up. Who the fuck are you to be offended by the N-word? You ain't got like a black cell in your body. Like your melatonin levels are not high enough to complain about this shit. Okay.
To even go as far as to say, like, do you even know any black people at this
do
point?
You know any black people?
Name one black person that you know personally.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So I find it so weird because if you stop to think about how this happened, these are people that, you know, they've lived in Chile all their lives. But like, I don't live like in Santiago, which is the capital. I don't live in the capital. I live like, I won't say out in the boonies, but like almost.
Yeah.
Usually these are people that have a lot of international experience. So the only way they would get offended by something like that is if they were like watching YouTube or some shit, and then they saw like an American say, "Hey, that's bad, that's offensive," and then they not only learned that, but they took it to heart as like, now I have to enforce this in fucking Chile. Now I'm not saying you should go to like other countries and just like start spamming the N-word everywhere. As funny of a visual as that may be, that's not something you should do. But the fact that the outrage existed, the fact that it happened was very weird to me.
Interesting. That's true. It's like, yeah, so like what reason would you have to be mad, right? Because it's such a uniquely American thing.
Yeah, that's like if, I don't know, I went to, same example, I went to fucking Thailand, right? And I heard somebody say the V word. Brother, I would just be so fucking confused. Like, how do you know that word?
You're like, touche, brother, touche. Damn, what a worldly fella, you know?
We got a cultured fella over here. How'd that happen?
Yeah.
So, back to sex. I feel that in that same exact vein, a lot of the, I guess, social viewpoints regarding sex have also been exported. So, not to a super high degree, but I can say, like, for example, I personally know 2 people that have an OnlyFans. Now,
Interesting.
They're not very.
How do they feel about the China situation?
I should ask them. Now,
that's for the next episode.
But I imagine it's not that different from the States because I know these people, but I have gotten, you know, basically comments from people that, we know, friends in common, and they're always like, yo, I don't know why, I don't know, insert name here. I don't know why Pedra is doing this. There's no reason why she's doing this. She's not really hurting on money. Why is she doing this? And they see that as a negative thing. But I imagine in the States, it's very similar. I can't imagine that if you asked 20 people, they'll all be like, yeah, bro, OnlyFans. I hope my daughter does that shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's, at least from the American perspective, it's like, chances are, if you meet someone on the street, like a random person, it's like, they're not going to be like, having a personal OnlyFans or anything.
But that's the question. Like, if I, like, for example, let's say I'm using Tinder or something, like I go on a date tonight, okay? Yeah. Is one of the questions I should ask, is that even pertinent to ask, hey, do you by chance have an OnlyFans?
Well, I don't think it's even that common here for that to be like a point of conflict, right? I think the problem that we see here is like on dating apps, there's a lot of people that are promoting it, right? There's people that already have OnlyFans that are using these dating apps as places of advertisement almost, right? I think a lot of people get in their heads that this phenomena is like a lot more common than it actually is. But at the same time, like there is some kind of stigma against it.
You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I've always been under the perception that like, usually it's, typical basement dwellers or Twitter people, as I like to call them, that that are like, brother, you should go normalize sex work. Go do it now.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, there's people that like there's a line between legalizing it and there's a line between normalizing it for sure. And I think it's like those are two very different things because as it stands right now, like sex work, like prostitution in the United States, in a lot of places it's illegal. But something like OnlyFans is completely legal. You're not selling your body on the street. You know, it's
more like you're not selling like a physical experience. You're just selling pictures, videos, whatever.
In a weird way, there is that kind of gray area
because
but
in my mind, I'd imagine I could be wrong on this. I'd imagine that the main consensus is basically okay. Sex work is a thing. It exists, okay? We shouldn't devalue or dehumanize sex workers, people that are already in the industry. You can take this any number of ways. People that say like, oh, that's dirty or whatever. We shouldn't dehumanize them. But at the same time, if I had like sister, mother, aunt, cousin, whatever, I wouldn't want them engaging in sex work.
Yeah, I would prefer them not to, right? The main argument that we see for legalizing sex work is that with legalization comes regulation, right? I guess the drawbacks that we see of sex work right now is that because it's illegal, we see a lot of abuses, right, of the workers, of the people that are involved, right? Look, because there's no oversight.
I wouldn't know how to quantify that, but here's the thing with that, okay? In case you didn't know, I'm fairly certain that in Chile, prostitution is in fact legal.
Interesting.
It is legal. I'm pretty sure. At least because I know for a fact that I've been shown like pages where you can buy this sort of service, and it's not like deep web stuff. You can just type it in the URL and you're there. You know.
Damn. Yeah. So it's that like accessible.
It's accessible, but I wouldn't say it's particularly regulated. Now, in case you're curious, I have never partaken in said activities because. We talked about this at some point, but I think an emotional connection is important, and I feel like just going and banging some random person is kind of gross. That's my view on it.
Right. Yeah.
But anyway,
I'd agree with
back to the point. So I know that there are some countries where it is also legal. I think it's in Denmark, for example. I think it's legal.
Yeah.
It's legal.
Yeah. Or the Netherlands.
Yeah, the Netherlands. And in some of those countries, especially some of the ones that are more well off, there are sort of mandatory practices in order to engage in sex work. Like, for example, you have to have a certain number of tests per year, right? You have to test for certain, STDs.
There's like a public health, safety, and implications involved.
Yeah, but even in those countries, at least from what I've gotten, reading articles and such, it's not that easy because they only test for certain specific STDs, and there's some ones that you will never get tested for unless you personally think you have it and you personally request to get that exam.
Yeah.
So,
and at that point, it's too late.
Yeah, it's like, at that point, you already have it.
Start seeing symptoms, and you're like, you already fucking had that shit. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and in Chile, I honestly don't know. Maybe somebody who watches this can, give us more information. But I'm fairly certain there are no government mandated sort of things, like exams. Okay. So I'd be pretty sure, or at least if it was me, I wouldn't be comfortable going, and acquiring. How would you say that? Like
visiting a lady of the night. That's the best way to put it. Yeah.
So I wouldn't be comfortable doing that because I might get like 75 types of chlamydia. That's what I would assume.
Right. What we were last week, we were talking about the diseased dogs in India.
Yeah.
It's all like, we don't want the World War Z zombie virus,
Like, bro, I don't want you know what? Scrap that. I was gonna make a joke about my dick. I'd rather not.
Mama pinga. But yes, I mean, this all ties in, I guess, like with the advent of like sex work and with stuff like OnlyFans, right? There's a certain demographic that this appeals to. With that kind of demographic and like with those kinds of, I guess, social changes that we see between men and women these days, especially in the Western world, because I think that informs a lot about, what's also happening in other regions.
Yeah.
From your perspective, have you noticed any kind of change between the relationship between men and women in the past few years?
Oh, of course. Okay, I'll say it like this. I feel like Chad slash incel culture has permeated here in Chile. I feel like it does exist. Okay. It's important to mention.
Okay.
And I actually think
At a wide scale or in kind of like concentrated smaller groups?
It's hard to say, but no, I feel that a lot of young guys are falling in the same traps that you hear people talk about. Like, in the Western world, people no longer have sex because
Legend has it across the sea, there are virgins everywhere.
the average age of losing your virginity 20 years ago was 17. Now it is 47.
It's like an old ass fucking like a druid or a bard, you know, a storyteller, a wizened ass old ass dude telling tales.
Actually, wait, this has nothing to. This has to do with what we're talking about. Wait, hold on. What is the average age of losing your virginity, men? What is the number? What? Man, this motherfucker lying. Gemini says 16.8. I don't believe him.
Bro, that's cap. That's cap.
Oh, because look. It says it was 17 in 2011.
Yeah.
Bitch, give me some updated stats.
Yeah, 2011. Okay. We need stats for at least like, you know, post-pandemic.
Yes.
Because that's the most relevant, I think. Socially, at least.
Okay, it says in Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and Finland, people lose it at 16. I mean, duh.
Nah, fuck Northern Europe. We're talking about countries that actually matter.
In Malaysia, it's 24. In South Korea, it's 22.
Damn.
Let's say Canada, 18.5, so 19. Wait, is the US not on this list? How the heck is it not on the list? Yeah, weird. Malaysia, India, Singapore, Romania, Canada. Oh, wait, no, it is. I didn't see it. They put it like on number 17 for some reason. Okay, 18.4, so 18 years old. Okay. Okay, let me tell you the two like this. This might seem a bit weird. Okay, but something you got to know about like Spanish-speaking countries. There's a very big cultural difference between, let's say, South America. Oh, less specifically, South America that is closer to, you know, the poles. Or no, not really the poles. How would you say that? Where the fuck do I live? Hold on.
I forgot where I live.
Okay. If we show... Actually, let me change to the media output. Let's go. There we go. So, okay. I hope you can see this. So, if we go look over here, this world map, okay?
Yeah.
This whole big block here kind of looks like an axe, okay? This is all South America, okay? And technically the Caribbean is where you'd be going and you get like warmer waters. And you'd have those sort of countries that have those warmer climates like Colombia, Venezuela, etc. But here, when we go to Chile, Argentina, etc., you are much closer to the Pacific Ocean. It's real cold as hell. And in the same token, it is close to like Japan, you know, Southeast Asia, Pacific, etc. So the culture is very different. I would say that in the Caribbean, talking Venezuela, Colombia, even places like Cuba, there is a much more hypersexualized culture.
Iguan Island boy, just trying to make it.
We're soaking up the sun.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, man.
So this might sound bad, but like as a quick example, I have stories from like cousins of mine, uncles that live in Venezuela, have lived, and they're like, no, it's super normal to, as an example, you'd be like 18, 19 years old, and you'd go to like the club, right? And you'd pick up girls, and then you'd notice like, and the girl's like 14 or something. Okay.
Damn.
And
oh hell no.
Yeah.
Some Diddy shit, bro.
Some Diddy shit. In fact, I've gotten like, you know, really like pretty terrible comments from people I know. They look older than they actually are or whatever. Okay.
Oh hell no. Oh hell no.
Which sounds like some terrible shit. But it's kind of normal to the point that like it's not abnormal at all to see guys and girls too lose their virginities like at 13, 14 years old. I feel like that's gotten better now. I think it's, I hope at least that it's gone up in age.
It's one of those parallels that you can draw with Europe too, because Europe has pretty low like age of consent laws. I think in like France it's something like 15. So that's the reason why like Roman Polanski, you know the film director?
Can't say I do.
So fucking Roman Polanski was a film director in the 60s. He did like Rosemary's Baby, all that shit. But he got in trouble for that shit, right?
Hey, everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party, so. Yeah, that's what's up. Yeah.
And what ended up happening is he fled to France to escape the law in the United States.
Yeah.
And also because the age of consent laws in France are way lower, right, than in the United States. You see that kind of shit and you're like, ah, damn, it's fucked.
When you mention age of consent, whenever I hear the term age of consent, I think of fucking weebs, dude. Like,
this is my 1,000-year-old anime character. She looks like she's 9, but it's okay because in Japan the age of consent is like 15. Yay!
That's why I'm so wary about these kinds of conversations, because anybody who brings that up is all like, "Bro, that's sus as fuck." You know, it's important that these laws exist, but then like when you discuss them, it's all like, "Oh shit, it's uncomfortable."
It is gross. But anyway, so this is all to say that Caribbean hypersexualized people lose their virginities very young, whereas in this other section of South America, I guess more closer to the Pacific, it's people are, I'd say, colder in a way, and just the main, I don't know, music genre, for example, in Latin America in general is reggaeton. You know what reggaeton is, right?
Yeah. That beat.
Exactly, that same beat, and the lyrics are always "Vamos mami, mueve el culo, a lo maduro, vamos mami," and they say
Hey, mama huevo,
and they always sing like they just like chain smoke like 70 cigarettes.
yeah.
So sex sells a lot, and sex sells in
Right.
the music, in the ads you consume, and just in everyday life. So that happens a lot in the Caribbean, and that used to be a very Caribbean type thing. But now reggaeton is everywhere, and not just reggaeton, just like in general, like this sort of, I guess, way of seeing the world, if that's the way to put it, has
This
also been exported.
This attitude.
Right, the whole attitude towards it. So I think here, I'd wager that Chile is more hypersexualized than it was maybe 15 years ago, but it's nowhere near as hypersexualized as, Cuba, for example.
Interesting. That's very interesting. I didn't know that. I didn't know that there was actually such a broad spectrum.
I also think it is a stereotype, which I'm not sure if I could say like it's harmful or not, but it definitely does give this perception, right? And I've seen a bunch of stuff about like American dudes being like, "Oh, I just want to marry, a typical Latina. I want a Latina in my life."
Passport bros.
Yeah, passport bros. Hey, bro, I just gotta go and like get some girl from Guatemala, okay? She'll be hot as fuck, and she'll make me sandwiches.
Bro, she's wifey material, bro.
And there is that perception that I guess Latina girls are, I don't know. This is the crudest way to say it, but like quicker to put out, stuff like that.
Gotcha.
More
promiscuous.
I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it is a harmful stereotype.
Right.
I don't want to start talking about, feminism or whatever, but I will say
Right.
that to some extent, I feel like Latina women have begun to question some of those things that were very normal previously, which I can find as a positive, hey, maybe losing your virginity at 13 isn't a good idea. I once had this conversation. Like, I don't know what you think about this. Okay. Sex positivity is a whole can of worms, but it's something I find very strange, okay? The very sex positive crowd, and something that really weirds me out about them, is they are sex positive, but also very much about, safety and all that. But here's an example. So you have a girl. Got a girl, she's 18, no issue there, okay?
Yeah.
And she starts posting pictures in like lingerie or whatever. And she'll start getting comments, right? Maybe she'll get comments from some of her girlfriends like, "Oh my God, slay queen, you look so beautiful. Oh my God."
The enabler crowd.
Yeah, the enabler crowd. And it'll be very positive. Yeah. But at the same time, you'll get a bunch of like really freaky old dudes like in their 50s. They're like, "Hey baby, come on, you could lose some clothing." Yeah. And it's one of those weird issues where I find the sex positive crowd and the creepy dudes being like on the same page and agreeing on something is very weird, which says to me that something is off.
I know what you're talking about. These people kind of exist in the same space almost, right?
The consumers are the coomers. We know this.
Right, the consumers, bro. The consumers.
I'm not saying that sex positivity is a bad thing, or that, even just like the whole like broad spectrum of sex work should be viewed in a negative light. What I will say is you gotta be careful what hill you die on, okay?
Right.
You can't at the same exact time be like,
Come on, girl, be a slut. You can do it. I believe in you. Come on,
Yeah.
queen.
but at that same time, be creeped out when the people that are actually into that kind of shit, the actual creeps, agree with you, okay?
Right.
Then you gotta think of your rhetoric.
Exactly.
Like, so something's going on. Like, I can't be super sex positive, but also have, you know, this sort of perception of safety.
You know, the consumers of it are also enabling it too, right? Because they're like, we're the people that are supporting it. People tend to uphold one and then demonize the other, you know? That's where that kind of cognitive dissonance comes in.
I'm not an expert on this. I could just say a bunch of shit. But all I can say about this
Me neither.
is generally, if you imagine a group of people that you fucking hate for whatever reason, okay? And then you start to analyze the interactions you've had with them and that you actually agree on some things, I think you have to like stop and be like, okay, what do I actually agree with? Am I going along with this because it's something it's important and I value it? Or is it more like I'm just going on the hype train? It's like it's expected of me to be positive about this. I think all of this we can like I guess pull it together. You know about dead internet theory?
Yes. It's an insane idea to think that, you know, like a lot of the interactions that we see online are actually like not real people.
Related, I saw a short today. It was basically like discussing the difference in user experience between people that use Twitter or X and people that use Blue Sky.
Yeah.
The new thing by.
I saw that too. Yeah.
Yeah. Something weird happens where if you have like the same amount of followers on both platforms, for some reason, X always feels like empty and dead. Like you'll post something, you'll get like 10 comments from bots that have nothing to do with the original post. Then some people just like, flat out ignore you, or other people that are just being incredibly negative towards whatever you're posting. Whereas on Blue Sky, you get like more, I guess, real and genuine conversations about stuff. And that's because the people that wanted to generally have a conversation that were on X got fed up with all the new stuff that's going on there, so they moved over to Blue Sky. But either way, just trying this back to the internet theory, that idea that whenever you post something, like, I don't know, let's say we post this on YouTube, right? We don't know who's actually watching this. Maybe nobody watches this. Maybe we got a bunch of comments that are just like randomly generated, you know? All the comments are ChatGPT.
Yeah. It's all a fucking robot, just like, ha ha ha, very funny. I did not know about this before you guys talked about it. That kind of shit.
Yeah, that kind of shit.
And what I saw about Blue Sky too was that even their responses on their comments are bots. But then the interesting thing about that is like they got like examples of it, but it's bots like intentionally disagreeing with each other. Have you seen that?
I have not, but it sounds interesting.
What's been reported on is there's discussions that happen about a certain topic, and what people have found were that these discussions are actually bots, right? That are engaging in debate. When we see disagreement online with normal people, no one's that polite.
Yeah, that's the thing. So I have my metric to see if something was written by an AI or not. Could I have found it on, you know, Yahoo Answers like 7 years ago? If the answer is yes, it's probably a real person. The answer is no, then no. You know, like those a bunch of spelling errors. They use like 7 exclamation marks every single time. You know, things are weirdly capitalized.
It's so perfect almost, where it's like it can't be real.
Yeah, people don't talk like that. People usually don't have conversations like on Twitter, like they're writing an essay.
Someone will immediately say, "No, you're dumb as fuck." You know? That's usually how it goes.
I was gonna say, are you big into games still, or not really?
I'm not really much of a gamer. I just play like, you know, your odd Souls game every now and then.
There's this game called Content Warning. I don't know if you know about Lethal Company. It's like a survival horror where you have this camera, right, and you start like streaming essentially like scary shit that happens to your character. And you get points based on, you know, what kinds of scary shit happens to the character. And the whole point with this is you're streaming it, and there's like a live chat that is watching the content as your character is recording it. And one thing that I was thinking of is, and it kind of like got me messed up for a bit. Those like randomly generated comments, you know, by the game developer, probably using like, I don't know, like ChatGPT or whatever to generate them. Yeah. They sounded strangely familiar. Like I can imagine a real person saying that. So then I started thinking, like, does that mean that either I happen to see lots of like AI comments and bot comments in what I consume, and also that people are just getting kind of fucking dumb and just not that creative with what they have to say. So it all just sounds like noise.
Yeah. Well, then what's real and what's fake?
That's the thing. So if comments from a random indie game can almost sound like they're coming from a real person, how can I know the things that I think are from a real person are actually from a real person? And that's when you get to internet theory, bitch.
Exactly.
Nobody exists. Well, us right here in this video, we don't fucking exist. You watch it at home. You don't.
Chances are, bro, I mean, we're AI generated. Tied into the whole China, like, OnlyFans shit. Like, at this point, what do you think is the probability that they'd be using, like, bots now?
What you're mentioning is even worse than just these bots, okay? I don't know if...
Oh, my God!
Okay.
Fuck no, baby!
Actually, you know what? I have prepared some different news stories, but I feel like this one is the most topical for this instance. This is the last one we're going to cover today. So...
All right, lay it on me, man.
Okay, so check this. I'm going to send you a link. Hold on one moment. Gotta do the same thing again. Okay, let's go to that. Please wait. Gotta find this freaking thing. I don't know if you knew about this. This is, you know what? It feels like old news because, bro, we're talking about AI, which I've spent a lot of time doing. It's super hard to just keep up to date with things. Like, from one month to another, there are a bunch of, like, huge changes.
It's rapidly moving.
Yeah, so this is old news to me, but it might be new to you. Open that.
Euronews.com. Meet Aitana, Spain's first AI model, who is earning up to 10,000 euros a month. Aitana, 25, a pink-haired woman from Barcelona, receives weekly private messages from celebrities asking her out, but this model is not real.
So what's going on here? Okay, just to give you some context. Oh, wait, hold on. Okay, we're back. Okay, here's what's going on. Basically, there's this huge market for AI models. AIs, there's like AI slop content now, but what's the thing that most sells all the time? Sex. Sex sells a lot. These technologies have been, haven't stopped getting better and better and better since they originally debuted. Now you have things, like you have your diffusion models, you have things like ControlNet, you can change the poses, stuff like that. So right now, if you want to, you can download programs like there's one called Focus, for example. You can use that. Think about it like a hub where you can train specific models to create images based on inputs, okay? For example, let's say you have an Instagram model that you find who really hot. You have a crush on her, okay? You can go to her account. You can download like hundreds of pictures of her if she's put them on there, and you can train a model to make a model looks exactly like her. So when I model, I'm talking about like AI model is what I mean. Okay, how this works is basically you can change a bunch of parameters based on what she looks like, what are the descriptors for her. What her hair looks like, what pose does she use. You can even use things that can help you pose the character.
Like a character creator in like an RPG. Almost.
You can think about it like that. You do this, and you create a perfect representation, or as close as possible, to what this real person looks like. That's already pretty bad. That's impersonation. You can use that for all kinds of purposes, and people have.
Right.
But here's the second issue. What if you have all these pictures, and you're like, hey, I want to have the same girl, but I want her to have pink hair. And you know what? I want her to have a bit of a darker skin tone. And you do that. And then guess what? You change the parameters around. You create a new girl. You can train a model to make this girl over and over and over again. So what some people have done, which I have my own opinions on, is they've created OnlyFans models that don't actually exist.
Like the rise of AI girlfriends, basically. Right?
Exactly, and it's gotten even worse because things like things like Sora that you have, for example, OpenAI was playing around with video generation. It's very computationally expensive, but you can make videos, and even now, it used to be like you'd have to be basically a resident expert to use deepfakes or make deepfakes previously. Now, bro, anybody with half a brain cell can do it.
The people that create these accounts are like just random dudes, right? Across the world, You
can offer it as literally software as a service. The people are actually doing this. You can pay for services that are monthly, where you have your own AI girlfriend, and based on image generation, video generation, you can have the thing that actually responds to you. Just so you know how important this is. OpenAI, for example, are training new models. One thing that they do, because they also have like the safety commission that they have. They also have like an ethics committee. But what they evaluate is the capacity of that model to convince people of things. Okay, I don't know exactly how they measure this, but I know that's something that they train on. They want to make sure that the model has an acceptable level where it isn't terrible, but it isn't too good at convincing humans of things. If I told you there was an AI model that could give you solid arguments and somehow convince you that World War II didn't happen, does that sound bad? So that's kind of the issue. Point is, if you combine sex, people love, with easily accessible, because this is not a real person. This person, you can generate 20,000 pictures a day if you have a strong enough computer. So there's availability. You can make it cheap, and you can also have it respond to it. You can have it beat what is the correct term for this? People that are the type of people that, in my mind, would try to buy this or acquire this service are usually people that could be easily convinced that this person is real, or that they can get something out of this, or a potential relationship, or whatever.
Like terminally online.
Yeah, stuff like that. So at the end of the day, you give people a service which they're getting what they paid for, but at the end of the day, what are you doing to them?
For me, I only have a very surface level understanding of all this, but for you who understands a lot of the mechanics that go into this, where do you see this going?
Well, there's always this meme that gets passed around, engineers. You probably could, but should you? There's always the joke of engineer designs the chicken torture 20,000, then asks, see, I didn't have to take an ethics class. What for?
I did it. Look at the state of the art fucking technology in this shit.
This technology is not gonna go anywhere. I mean, right now it's basically based on large language models, LLMs, which is basically what ChatGPT is. And that right now is apparently, I'm not gonna say it's reaching its final form, and it's not gonna be able to get better, because of course it is. Models have gotten better and better and better, increasingly better over time. I don't know if you use ChatGPT a lot, but if you compare ChatGPT 2.5, I think it was, to then what came out with ChatGPT 4, it was a huge jump in quality. And even going from ChatGPT GPT-4 to GPT 4.0, that was another pretty large increment in quality.
I've actually never used ChatGPT.
You haven't?
I have never. I know of it. I know how it started and who started it and how it works to a certain extent. I've seen people use it before. I've had friends use it. When we went to college, right? When I started college, it was 2018.
For context, ChatGPT wasn't really a thing until, I believe, mid to late 2022.
I graduated in 2022. So it's at the very end of my college career. And when I saw all the younger classes in their studies, everybody was using that shit. And at that point, I was wondering to myself, I'm what even is the use of college? Because you can ask it any question and you have the answer right there.
That's one important thing, okay?
Yeah.
It's one thing that I would like to clear up. And I know I'm going to get people in the comments and be like, oh, I'm an expert in machine learning. You're full of shit. Right. Shut up. Yeah. I think Sam Altman actually has a quote on something like this, which is basically the CEO of OpenAI.
The CEO,
where essentially ChatGPT can do a lot of cool stuff, but it is amazingly good at convincing you that it's not shitty. You know, when I was talking about McDonald's earlier, remember how I said there were two things that made it a successful chain?
Yeah.
Well, the second one is mediocrity. Basically, McDonald's, one thing that it has, and I promise I'll connect to the ChatGPT, one thing that it has is, for the price that you were receiving a burger for $1, okay?
Yeah.
It wasn't an awful burger. It was the best burger that wasn't a good burger, but it was the best burger for that price point. It was able to convince you that for that very cheap price, it was a decent-ish burger.
Right.
ChatGPT, much the same way. ChatGPT can do a lot of basic tasks very good. It sucks balls at more complex tasks, and I can tell you that because hours and hours of experience coding. What I can say, though, is what ChatGPT is really good at is basically making you think that it not only understands what you're asking it, but it also makes you think that it has the answers. If you just give it enough time, it'll give you a correct answer, when that is not the case. I could go into the technical part of it, but all you need to know is ChatGPT mostly just guesses.
So in a way, it's very convincing, and it has a sort of air of confidence, I guess, that you would expect from a human.
An easy example is image generation. It's kind of dookie at that, I'll be honest with you. Well, I mean, I think most image generators aren't that great. Hey, I want a red dog. You know, I want Clifford. Make Clifford.
Yeah.
It'll do it. It won't look like Clifford. So then you try to be as technical and as specific as possible. Like, oh, he got his eyebrows over here. He has some lines on his head. He has this size of tail. You'll be as specific as you can be. But the AI, no matter how specific you are, won't actually generate Clifford. It might look kind of like Clifford. It won't be Clifford.
Right.
Why is that? Because ChatGPT doesn't fucking understand what you're asking it. All it does is get your inputs, it tokenizes them, it goes into basically this database, and it goes through a bunch of examples of what it thinks that description would maybe possibly look like. And hell, even if you're as specific as you can be, sometimes the Clifford that you get as a result will be fucking yellow for some reason. Because ChatGPT's kind of a dumbass.
Exactly. It never actually fully understands what you're saying, but it's only getting the best, like, quantifiable guess based upon its data points, right? That is relevant to the question that you're asking.
And that's why even if you ask, like, super basic questions, like, I don't know, if you ask ChatGPT today, hey, can you make me a workout routine? It'll give you a workout routine. It'll probably be balls, though.
Yeah. You got to do 3 sets of 10 burpees. Like
Brother,
that,
you do 10 burpees, 100 push-ups, do like half a row, you'll be good.
No, that's dookie. It's very interesting to see that cross communication, right, between this new technology and then like the oldest impulses that human beings have, right?
That is a question for you. So, well, I think one of the last ones before we close out is, like, I know how to do this. I decide to not use my powers for evil. If I showed you how to make hot AI girls, and I say, like, bro, you can make a stack a month just by making pictures of this AI girl, would you do it?
Yeah. Here's the thing. It really depends on the amount of money. You know, I think this is the thing for everybody. It's like, it really depends on how big the payout is. Because as much as I want to say that I'm like a very principled person, or as much as I would like to say that I, have certain like scruples about life, it's like, it really does come to like, how much do you personally benefit from it, right? I'm not going to lie to you and say that I'm above all this. I don't take part in it. The thing is, I know deep inside, like, I'm not comfortable with all this kind of stuff. I have problems even talking to human women, let's be real.
Yes, like, you think that to some extent, everybody has a price tag.
Everybody has a price tag. Everybody has a price tag, for sure. And I think a lot of it doesn't really come down to money. It's about, like, security.
I do think that I have the technical knowledge to do something like that. And actually, well, I mean, to be honest with you, the reason I know so much about this is because when I first saw it, I was like, no fucking way. And then I've realized that it was actually true. And I was like, what? You mean I can make a bunch of money just like making AI girls? But
exactly.
Then I stopped to think about it and I was like, okay, I could do this. But the ethical concerns of it's twofold. Because first of all, you're training on data, which is basically just like real women. You're basically just like using real women as data points to create like a new girl, which is, I don't think like I can explain it why that's kind of fucked up. And also the fact that I felt like I had some issues growing up, right? When I was like a teenager, I had some self-esteem issues, stuff like that. I could have become one of these gooners in another life. So in a way, assisting young guys in like falling into this sort of thing for profit makes me feel like an ass. So that's why I just like, I'm not like starving, I'm not like hard for money right now. I have my job, I have stuff. So is it really the case? Now, maybe if I was just like a random Indian dude in poverty who managed to get his hands on like an RTX, then at a 4080 or something, and sure, I may do that.
Yeah, it's, again, like, it is circumstantial. Like, of course, this isn't something that I want to promote at all. Like, it really goes against my own values. I value what's genuine. But again, it's like, this is all hypothetical at this point. If I was posed with a situation where it was very difficult to go and even survive on my own, like, and this was an only option, it's like, I would take it. I do value what's real, and I don't want to push any of this on people because I think it's a very big threat, to what we see as our reality from now on.
I'll leave you off with this, which is that there are people doing what you're mentioning. And actually there are, for example, specifically image generation software, let's call it. There are now tools that basically like poison data sets. Like you upload an image, right? But the image, you see it fine. But the way that basically, let's say machines analyze images, it's not like you and I do. They analyze it like by data point. Like separate like a bunch of points, try to analyze like the overall image. You can sort of poison these images in a way so that what you see is like, I don't know, a dog, but what the AI model sees is like a disfigured human. So they become like really bad at making those kinds of things. So people are doing that right now, especially artists who are they're like the most like at the vanguard of this whole like anti-AI revolution, I guess.
Right.
Because it sucks for them because their artwork is used and honestly stolen in order to train some of these models. Yeah, but the point is that is happening, and there is going to be, I think, like a big old, I don't want to call it like a culture war, but it's almost that, basically, where people that are, very much like in favor of change, like the AI bros, the crypto bros are like, nah, we're new technology and shit. And like, I feel like even I might be in that camp in some regard because I do work with these kinds of things. Obviously different. Like I work with like machine learning models, for, like, predictions and stuff. But it is my field, technically.
For me personally, at this moment, I would not be open to, actually pursuing this, to actually create these kinds of things and to profit off of it.
I'd feel like you'd be like grossed out by, I don't know, like AI music. That's something else that exists now.
Yeah, exactly. That kind of stuff. All I'm saying is that it's disingenuous for people to say that, like that they won't take these opportunities to profit.
Exactly. Like if you were in a very precarious situation financially and you had the opportunity to do this for whatever reason or in some way, then it's disingenuous to say that, no, I would never do that. I'm above that kind of thing.
If those advantages are very clear and you have everything to gain from it, right? I really don't have faith in the human capacity to resist that. It is a social power that is very unconscious. I think a lot of people delude themselves into thinking that they're above certain things. In reality, people are self-serving for the most part.
Yeah.
Whether it's some political ideology or some kind of like, stance on morality, like it's the same thing. Like people always have something to gain. In my view, the people that are the most vocal about judging people on this kind of stuff, they're subject to the same social pressures and the same reality that we are,
I get you. It's like that idea that, it's easy to criticize someone who's a thief, except when you're a person that has 2 kids to feed and you don't have a cent in your pocket.
Exactly. And all I'm saying is like, I'd rather be honest about that than try to like take any moral high ground. Fuck that shit. Those people are the worst. So I know we went super off topic about AI and all that shit and what's going on, but it's interesting. Like, where is all this going to go, This isn't going to end just in China. This has implications on the rest of the world. So, we'll keep on.
Man, we didn't even think about this. What if China plans to use AI girlfriends in their OnlyFans plans?
That's a recipe for disaster. That may become the start of World War III. Gooner War.
The Gooner War. All that other stuff you did, all those weird exchanges with Russia, like, we're gonna ignore all that shit. But this AI Chinese girls, you've gone too far.
It's about to start the next big conflict, man. I'm just hoping that I'm not drafted. But this has been BasedWebble News. My name's Justin.
My name is Oscar. Anyway, we'll see you in the next one.